From the proverbial hammer coming down to what the Michigan offensive line is going to look like, the best wide receivers I've seen in my lifetime, and what will Bryce Underwood do this year? All kinds of questions we've got from you in the Michigan Mailbag. We're going to answer all of them, as much as we can at least, on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Thursday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I am your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire through USA Today Sports Media Group. Thank you to all of our everydayers, and thank you for making us your first listen. We are going to start off answering the questions from the leaders and best. Then we've got all kinds. Our longest segment always goes to the Victor's Valiant, who has a ton of amazing questions this week. And then the Blue Crew, we will lightning round it. So many questions, so little time. Let's get right into it. Starting with our leaders and best. Josh Barr at Jadicke, and I'm going to struggle to read all of this here, but we'll try. Pick a player on offense and defense that you expect to improve the most between spring ball and fall camp, who could end up having an impact in week one. On offense, I think it's going to be Bryce Underwood. I know that's kind of a cop-out. But, by then he'll have, consider that it was between spring ball. He's going to have all this time on task. He's been working out, reportedly from Josh Henschke reported that he's been spending a lot of one-on-one time with his different receivers. So he's going to have all that time on task. Then he's going to have 15 more practices. I think he's going to look absolutely electric. On the other side of the coin, the other side of the ball, rather, that one's maybe a little bit more difficult. I'm going to go with, man, that one's hard because a lot of these guys have been around for a minute. And I don't really want to pick a transfer. And I thought about it. But I am. I'm gonna go with Tevis Metcalf. I'm gonna go with Tevis and TJ Metcalf. I'm gonna cheat and do two transfers. I've heard some really good things. I spoke to someone who all of you know, and they had told me, like, watch out for TJ Metcalf. Watch out for him. Like, he's gonna be incredible this year. So I'm excited, and they told me that just a few days ago. So that's exciting. I think that they are both going to be very, very good. But the defense is just weird because I just feel like, if you want to say year over year, I think Jayshon Barham's going to be that guy. Spring ball to fall camp. To me, you're mostly going to be looking at younger players, but that's what I'm going to go with. I'll add Channing Goodwin, who I didn't think had the best spring game. I think by the time that we get to the season, he'll look a lot better too. My brother in metal, Michael Wolf at MWolf21. In terms of player buy-in, how much better can the offensive production be versus last year when maybe some of the guys didn't believe in the system? I think in terms of buy-in, they're all bought in. I think that's the good news. But here's the danger more so is if they struggle, especially like week 2 against the Brent Venables defense. Is there any kind of lack of buy-in for a minute, right? Just a little bit of we have a moment where we don't believe what we thought we believed. It's not as good as we thought it was going to be. Do they stay consistent? I think that it is going to be a lot better because I think there's just a lot more faith. I think it's a little bit different because like Kirk Campbell was kind of who JJ McCarthy really wanted to be the quarterback's coach, but no one was really asking him to be the offensive coordinator. Except for that one interim game against DCU. I think it's a little bit different with a guy that has a track record like Chip Lindsey. Jonathan Joseph at JJoseph2156. Besides Underwood, which freshman will make an impact this year, if any? Let's start offensively. Any of the wide receivers, even Jacob Washington, right? He's also like a 6'3" receiver, right? I think he absolutely can be an impact guy. But here's the thing. We've talked about this for years on the show because we spent years being like, hey, this new true freshman, he's going to be great. And then at wide receiver, and then just doesn't ever end up happening that way. So we're kind of scared off by the premise, but I'm still going to say that at least one of the three is going to break out. Outside of that, I wouldn't be surprised if Jasper Parker ends up being, and I know someone asked me later about Micah Kapana. I wouldn't be surprised if Jasper Parker ends up being the number 3 guy. but at the same time, I mean, they bring in CJ Hester and John Volker, so it's probably unlikely. I mean, there are a lot of candidates. Shamari Earls, Nathaniel Wusu-Boateng on defense, I think, are some pretty good options there as well. Finishing us out in segment one, we're going to try to keep this shorter than usual because we've got so many questions. Spencer Whitmore at Spencer Whitmore. Thoughts on night games? I think they look better, but honestly hate them. Wait all day and then win or lose. I can't fall asleep until 3 a.m. Love me a noon kickoff. As someone who, keeping in mind, I mean, I might be, quote, working the game. I'm not, doing my, work that pays me until after the game. So, yeah, I love a noon kickoff because, if it's a night game, it's kind of to some degree, especially because I try not to do that much work on Sundays. I have my field turf allergy, which kind of renders me incapable of being a human for a while. Noon kickoff, at least, I can kind of power through before the Benadryl, really, either the Benadryl or the allergy really starts, kicking my behind. And then, then the 3:30 games kind of suck because it's just the middle of the day. You don't really get to see any of the early games. You're just, and you still have all the same time constraints. The only thing I would prefer a night game over a 3:30 game at this point. That's the only thing I got, but noon games are superior. All right, we've got so much more to get to. We're next going to get to the questions from the Victors Valiant. We are going to do that here in just a moment. But before we do, the NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments, whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player. There's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. It's game one of the Indiana Pacers at the Oklahoma City Thunder tonight. I got it right the other day. Can Tyrese Halliburton make up for his ghastly decision to not score on the same game parlay I had? Can he be a man? Can he be a real man? Can he admit his mistakes and go out there and rectify it? We're going to find out tonight. So you can take him on a same game parlay at your own risk. Regardless, if you're new to FanDuel, now is the perfect time to sign up at FanDuel.com. Place your first $5 bet and get $200 back in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, so many questions in the Victors Valiant. It's insane, as always. Let's start with Edwin Simmons at Simmons_Edwin. Happy Thursday, my brother in Christ. Happy Thursday to you as well. After Friday, when the findings of the NCAA come out, number one, I don't think they're going to come out on Friday or Saturday, right? It's Friday and Saturday. I was thinking it was the 5th and 6th the other day, and today's the 5th. That's why I was a little confused. I was like, I dates and days wrong. Is Michigan able to appeal? What would you feel the depth chart is at the skill positions? See, this is where reading my ability to read the screen without my glasses, not great. Skill position up to the threes. Love the new camera angle. Zuri is a celebrity. You hear that, Zuri? No, she's too busy sniffing something. She's down there, though. She's down there doing whatever it is that she does, and I'm not going to say much more to her because then she's going to climb on my lap. She's going to do it anyway. Here we go. Here comes the puppy. Maybe. As far as I don't think that I don't know about the appeal process after that point. I don't think we'll find out anything right away. I do know some things about some of the strategies right now. I'm not going to call attention to that. Here comes the puppy. She's ready and raring to go. See the depth chart at the skill positions up to the threes. Wide receiver, I mean, I think at the moment, and it could change. Well, that was short-lived. That was a short-lived Zuri trip. I think that you're at the moment, it would be Donovan McCulley, Frederick Moore, Samaj Morgan. I think the next group would be something like Peyton O'Leary. I feel like I'm forgetting. No, let's go Kendrick Bell because he was injured all spring. I think he'll come back with a vengeance. I'll go Kendrick Bell, Jamar Browder, and Anthony Simpson. And then after that, I would go Peyton O'Leary, Andrew Marsh, who I think will work his way up a bit, Channing Goodwin. I think that's a fair three. Let's do the corners. I'm not going to do the safeties. I'm not going to do the safeties, but we'll do the corners. Jair Hill and Zeke Berry, Shamari Earls, Josiah Edmond, and then behind them is Big Yolo. I have no idea on the third string there. Generic at ERKJ72, thoughts on the Santa Ono, Florida debacle. Also, did you remember any of those food spots or things that you ate in other places for games? I had to sit there and rack my brain. I had to actually try to look up some receipts and stuff. And it wasn't as impressive as you'd think. But I'll get to that in a second. I mean, I did a whole segment on it yesterday. So you're really outing yourself, Eric. that you didn't watch or listen to the show from yesterday yet. But I mean, it is what it is. I'll just defer to that. All right, I wrote down everything, and I also cheated, and you'll find out more here. We've got a special inclusion here from a guest. Illinois, I put not available because I cannot remember at all eating in Illinois. I'm sure I did. I don't remember it. Indiana, my favorite place was called La Charriata. That's the place that I thought was good. I can't remember the place at Iowa. I remember I loved it. We were in Iowa City for a few nights. I ate at a couple different places. And I remember that I was like, man, this place is awesome. Couldn't tell you where and what it is. Maryland, I said it was Old Ebbitt Grill in DC, not in College Park. Minnesota, I forgot to look up where it was that I went. It was somewhere in downtown Indianapolis. I felt like something, not in Minneapolis rather, something called like Wolf something. I don't remember. It was like in a basement. MSU, I've only ever eaten there once during the off season, and it was Hopcat, so that doesn't really count. Nebraska was some Mexican place well off the beaten path. I can't really say that the food I ate at like one of the big sports bars downtown that it was anything. I mean, I was more there just to watch the Red River rivalry. Northwestern really pretty much was in Chicago and then came to Evanston. I'll tell you that Brandon Justice and I went to Twin Peaks. Yeah, I know. I don't think I knew what Twin Peaks was. I just thought it was like a Chili's. But that's where we went. I used to love, as far as favorite place in Chicago, I used to love 25 Degrees, but it's closed permanently now. Ohio State, actually before, there was a really good burger joint downtown that I went to. Again, don't remember the name. That's the problem. You go to these places like, oh, I'm going to go here. And you don't usually necessarily be like, that was what the name of the place was. I do know in 2016, I went to a really cool burger place down in the downtown area. And the bartender was a Michigan guy. And he was like handing out little Michigan goodies to all the Ohio State fans that were coming in. So that was epic. But Eddie George Grill 27 is the place that I put in. I remember I had a fantastic burger back when I could drink, had some beers there. So this was actually before I started in the media. So I haven't been there in 13 years-ish. It was 2012 that I went. I haven't been to Oregon. Penn State Plaza Mexican Bar and Grill. That's my place, courtesy of John Jansen. He mentioned it on the radio, and my friend told me about it, my best friend. And I went there, and then I saw John Jansen there. So he wasn't lying. And I saw Ward Manuel and Doug Notke there. So, yeah, it's very, very good. Purdue, I didn't eat in West Lafayette or anywhere near there, Indianapolis. Rutgers, I haven't eaten at Rutgers, but because I usually am in Manhattan and take the train down the day of. But Katz's Deli is my favorite sandwich in the world. My friend Neil is a big Rutgers fan, and he says go to Jimmy's Grill and get the fat B word. I haven't been to USC. I've been to one UCLA game now, but I lived in Los Angeles. So here's my favorite restaurants in LA. Osteria Mozza, 25 degrees. That's why I like the one in Chicago. I lived around the corner from it. Pink Taco, Grill 'em All food truck. I think they have a location up somewhere in the north now. Casa Vega in the Valley. Cabo Cantina, which is a chain. Those are my choices there. Washington, I didn't eat in Seattle. We did eat in Bellevue at a Fogo de Chao. But the night of the game, I ordered takeout in Lake Stevens from a place called Hops and Drops, and it was incredible. And then Wisconsin, Lucille's is the only place that I've been to in Madison. So there's that. Now, and for some reason, we've got the okay, there we go. Train just had stopped. I added Houston, a couple places in Houston. I went to 3 places in Houston that were out of this world. B&B Butcher, which is a steakhouse. Pinkerton's, which is barbecue. And Velvet Taco, which has the best taco I've ever had. Their brisket taco is out of this world. That's a chain. There's one in Norman, Oklahoma. So I'm really looking forward to that. And there's one in Chicago, or 3 in Chicago. I'm going to be going there every single chance I get. And then in Indianapolis, my favorite restaurant is Prime 47. So here's the cheating. And I know we spent like 3 minutes on this. We're taking away time from you, the people. I couldn't remember the name of Plaza, so I asked John Jansen. And so Jansen gave me some of his favorites. He said, Triple X Diner in West Lafayette is my favorite. This is verbatim out of the text messages. The ribeye and champagne is great. Little Zagreb in Bloomington. So there you go. Clark at Blue for Life 8. How much do you think Bredesen, as in Max Bredesen, will be involved in the pass game this year, or would you expect it to be about the same as it's been? I think he's going to be a lot more heavily involved. They're still going to run the football, and they're still going to smash, but I mean, we've seen even videos, and we saw it in the spring game. He was a little more involved, although he got his first touchdown in a winged helmet in the spring game a couple years ago. But yeah, I do think he's going to be more involved. I think the fact that you saw Jalen Hoffman do what he did, I think tells you that Max Bredesen is capable of also being included at least similarly. Pistons Famo, he asks, how would you say Michigan matches up with Oklahoma? A lot of injuries for them last year, and I think Michigan fans are sleeping on them. Coming out of Norman with a win in week 2 would be incredible. I think it's interesting because it's going to go, I think, as follows. 2 things. How will Bryce Underwood fare with an elite defensive mind and Brett Venables throwing everything at him? That's number 1. If it is, in fact, Bryce Underwood, which I would expect it to be. And secondly, how Wink Martindale versus John Mateer in his offensive coordinator. On one hand, like, that's the best quarterback Michigan's probably going to see all year. On the other, John Mateer has not faced a defense like he should be facing in Wink Martindale's defense. And last year, it didn't go well for Quinn Ewers when we said the same thing, or it went good for Quinn Ewers, didn't go well for Wink. A little bit different because you've got a veteran group now. So it comes down to those things. That's what I would say. Perry Mitchell at Perry Mitchell 08. If Link struggles to start the season at left tackle, is Babalola the next man up? I would say so, yeah. And I don't think he's going to struggle. That's the thing. I feel like that's kind of a made up thing, to be honest. Like, is he going to be elite? I don't know. That's the question. But I don't think he's going to struggle, personally. That's just my opinion. Caleb 711. Do you see Sherrone Moore and his staff coming through the NCAA potential penalties stronger and more together? And in a few years, we may look back and see that what it did is galvanize the staff more and build the culture. What Harbaugh started even stronger. God bless. I don't know. That's hard to say. I think that's wishful thinking, but I don't know. That's all. I'm sorry. I don't have a good answer to that. It could. Absolutely could. I think it's more stuff like that affects players more, I think, is the way I look at it. Carter Carlin at Carter Carl 53947, I think. Okay, yeah. I have to Harbaugh face it and do that. The squinting. What do you think will be Michigan's NCAA punishment? I think Sherrone will get a suspension. I think it'll be longer than the 2 games. I don't think it'll be longer than 4. I think Michigan will get more recruiting restrictions. I think there will be a fine. I think Connor, Jim Harbaugh will have, and Chris Partridge will all have show causes of some variety, no matter how successfully they argue things this week. So yeah, I'm not the one at William Cawthorne 9. Are their first team? Let's see. I have to get out of the light glare to see this. Are there first team all conference players on this team, and who might they be? Yeah, I think Gio El-Hadi, if he has a good year, could be that. Will he be? I don't know. I think he could be that. Andrew Sprague as well. Then I would go Justice Haynes, absolutely could be. Bryce Underwood could be if everything really goes to plan. Rayshawn Benny, Ernest Hausman, Jay-Sean Barham. I think that's, and Rod Moore if he's healthy for most of the year. That's what I got. We are way over time here. But we're going to continue. Has NIL ruined the future of the sport? I've heard interviews where they say parents are trying to retire on their kids' NIL. I think that it's not good for the sport right now. I would say that much. I think it's not good in terms of if it was like proper NIL, like what NIL should be, then it would be fine. But when it's become unfettered free agency without actual like contract lengths. So I think that's been bad for the sport. If you're asked any only spiritual questions, would you not have the pod because this is a Michigan pod? I mean, we would still do the Michigan pod, right? That's number one, it's my job. Number two, even if I did a mailbag and everyone did the questions that were spiritual, then I mean, if it was for the mailbag and it was all spiritual, I think they wouldn't let me do that. But if we can pepper it in, then that's a different story. Great Bambino X, a class of So Clout X. I see a ton of draftable talent on the team. Maybe not as high-end talent, but I think they could eventually challenge the record set 2 years ago of 13 players drafted. Do you agree? Yeah, I think they absolutely could. But the problem is I don't think it'll all go in 1 year. So it's going to be, maybe in like 2 years, and maybe 3 years after Bryce, like you could be looking at like this past class. It would not surprise me if you saw a lot of those guys go. Because I think that's a potential national championship shot as well. DE Wolverine at KMOS_11. Who is your Mount Rushmore of Michigan wide receivers you've witnessed playing? All right, so that's pretty limited because I didn't start going to my first games in person until 2006. If you say I witnessed, then that means we have to start with Mario Manningham. And then we would have to go into who after that? Nico Collins. I mean, I put Ronnie Bell on there because he was pretty dang good. And Roman Wilson, if for no other reason than some of the plays he made in the Rose Bowl. It's kind of underwhelming, to be honest. Mike Matthews at Michigan Mike 7. What uniform combo do you like best? Classic home probably wins out, especially at the Rose Bowl. I mean, the Rose Bowl uniform is number 1. The big game blues number 2. I like both the all white roads, but I'm kind of back to liking the Mace pants, the yellow pants. What am I talking about? Where did I go to school? Where was I born? Come on. Jacob Shavaria at Shavaria. Does Michigan plant the flag in the shoe in 2026 if they win? Would you let your players make the choice or tell them in advance to not do it? I vote we do it, and if and when we win. I say just go ahead and let them do it. I think Sherrone would be like, yeah, just don't do it. That's kind of who I think Sherrone is, but yeah, I'd do it. Jared Book at Book's World. Are people overhyping? Again, the glare is really bad here with the sun coming through the window. Are people overhyping this team too much? We have some great pieces which were on display during the ReliaQuest Bowl. But the freshman quarterback struggle 93% of the time, or 95%, 95. Is it worth tempering expectations? Thanks, Isaiah, from the thumb. I think Bryce is not your typical freshman quarterback, and I think he'll have so much time on task. I'm not looking at Bryce as a typical. I look at Bryce as more in terms of like that type of guy, like the way that people look at like Julian Sayin at Ohio State, who has a year of practice under his belt and all of that. I look at it more like a high-level guy who has a year under his belt. Now, Should I be tempering expectations? Maybe. I'm not, though. I think he's going to be a heck of a lot better than people think. All right. Continuing on here. Nunya Biz at UofMFan_4Life. Going back to last year when Mullings was the only bright spot on offense, we had that stretch where he was barely used. And when asked about if they seemed baffled. Was that Campbell's terrible play calling and stubbornness trying to prove we could throw or a pass? Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading, mostly because of my eyes, but also the glare. The throw a pass, or was there more to it? I think it usually is the position coaches that decide who's in when, but it could be Campbell. I don't know. I'm not going to speculate. He continues his Buckeye scoop, linking this to Jim Harbaugh hammer, and it's Kash Patel, director of the FBI. Tweeting out, I can confirm the FBI arrested a Chinese national within the United States who allegedly smuggled a dangerous biological pathogen into the country. Probably, because it's a University of Michigan student, so he probably is. All right, we've got two more in this segment. We're going to probably elongate this show a little bit at the break here. LK Baird at Luke Baird 2016. I'd really appreciate prayer for my sermon this Sunday evening on Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. It's my only my second time preaching, so I am really excited and nervous. Please pray that God guides my words and helps me share a message that stirs the congregation to grow closer to Yahweh. I have prayed for you, so I hope that others will join in on that. And then finishing us out in segment 2, the Rican Raider at Hamstand 87 between Sherrone and Harbaugh. What do you feel are the big personality differences in how they interact with players and the media? Also give Zuri a smooch on the snoot from the Rican Raider. She will get that later, but I think that Sherrone's a little bit more of a player's coach. Jim has always been kind of a little bit standoffish to a lot of the guys, so I think that's a big change, right? Like, I just think that there's that. But as far as the media, I mean, they're not different really in what they say. Sherrone kind of learned from Jim to not say a lot, unfortunately, but he doesn't have the... Jim had a tendency to say something that could go viral in the college football media world pretty much every press conference, especially in the first 2 years. Sherrone, I don't think, has that in him. So, I don't know. All right, we're going to continue on. We've got plenty more coming up here in just a moment. All right, required a camera reset. We're going to keep this show going a little long because I spend so much time on the food question. Getting to the Blue Crew. Blue Captain asks, what are the real expectations from the players and or coaching staff regarding the offensive side? Excited doesn't count because everybody is excited in the offseason. Is the comfortability growing under this new system with the new OC? I just think it's a competence thing, right? Like, I think the expectations from the players and coaching staff, I mean, I think they're high. They're excited more so, not just because, like, yeah, everyone gets excited. They're excited because it's like it features that, like Samaj. Look at what Samaj said to us a couple weeks ago. Chip Lindsey's using more of his skill set in the way that he feels he's capable. Hence, like, I think that that's going to work in a better direction for him. All right, we're going to lightning around this a little bit more than I am because we can't have a 50-minute show. Let's see, Nelson. This is going to be fun for y'all watching. Bannon at Dr. Boigno, I think. Baino. I can't read it. Why do you think the NCAA has an axe to grind with Michigan? Seems to treat them differently than any other school, constantly leaking info statements during investigations, ridiculously large penalties. Okay, I think some of it's coming from the Michigan side as far as some of the, I think it was the third-party firm. Then I think it was a little bit of the NCAA, and I think a lot of the leaks you've heard lately are probably from the Michigan side. And that's made the NCAA mad. But why do they have an axe to grind? I think because everything, like Jim Harbaugh, I think he thumbed his nose at the system repeatedly. And a lot of those things have come to pass. Transfer portal being the way it is, kind of, not unfettered. Said, hey, I think everyone should have a one-time exemption. The NIL of it all, like he's challenged the power structure of the NCAA and their sovereignty, essentially. And then thumbed his nose at them, and I think that's why. Stogie Cereal, who do you see as starting QB this season? And does Michigan look like they'll Michigan look like they'll still be a heavy run team again? Yes, but Bryce Underwood. We'll just keep it at that. The Maze and Boo. What is the combination of the best 5 for O-line that we could have? Would you move Link to guard and put Babalola at tackle? I want to hear your thoughts on that. Well, Link only started playing guard for the first time this spring ball. So unless he's like really taking on, like his native position is left tackle. So for now, I would say that the best 5 for now would be the ones that I propose, which is Link, El Hadi, Crippen, Afobe, Sprague. Now, that could change by midseason once Babalola is fully comfortable, but that's what I think at the moment is the best. Javon, or is it Jaron? Jaron Snavely. When can Connor Stallions come on the pod and just talk ball? Listen to the Crane and Company podcast and the Bussin' with the Boys podcast and could listen to Connor talk for hours about his football knowledge. He says he'll come on after all of this is done with the NCAA. So hopefully in about 2 months-ish, we'll be able to get Connor on. Hopefully. He very well might push back again. But he doesn't really want to come on until all this is kind of behind him. Mama Wolverine, Ed, how do you think the O-line will perform? We're going to be young. Not that young, not as young as last year. Right, because you've got several guys that started games that are all back. 4, in fact. So, I think it will be better than people are anticipating. That's where I'm at with it. Jonathan at who_day85. Is the hammer ever going to fall? Asking for some friends in Ohio. Not the way they think. Can tell you that. The narrative is being driven by some nefarious actors on that are rival fans. So it's not going to fall the way they think. I was going to knock on wood, but there's no point in that. Kirk Bird, how are we looking at the recruitment of running back Savion Hyder after his official visit to Ohio? Steve Wilfong said that it seems like it's a Minnesota-Tennessee battle. He's visiting Georgia this weekend. Savion Hyder tweeted, where do people come up with this stuff? So I don't know, but I would venture it's probably Michigan, Tennessee. I think Michigan's going to win that battle regardless. All right, I don't know if we have time for this. Eric W. at Kinetic 615 asked 7 questions. 7. I appreciate the zeal, but it's a little greedy, my guy. Aside from Savion Hyder, who I think is the clear number 1 target for Michigan right now, if you could snap your fingers and get a commitment tomorrow from a 2026 recruiting target, who would it be? Probably Tristan Keys. I think they need a game-changing wide receiver. I think they have Calvin Russell higher on their board than Tristan Keys, but I like Tristan Keys. That's where I'd go there. You still feel like Michael Campana has R3 position locked down. And if you do believe he'll be effective, okay, they can't read that because of the glare. I don't know. They brought in 2 transfers after the conclusion of spring ball, and we'll be getting Jasper Parker on campus. So no, I don't think he has it locked down. Do you see Shamari Earls getting meaningful rotation minutes this season? And if so, how much? Yes, I think he'll be in solid rotation, and I think he'll end up he'll be Will Johnson light in year 1. I don't think he'll be starting by the end of year 1, barring injuries, but I think his length is going to confound opposing receivers, and I think he's going to be a heck of a lot better than a lot of people think. Can you give us projected stats for Bryce Underwood in the 2025 season? I have no idea. 3,200 yards, 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. That's what I'm going to go with. Who do you see as nickel this season? I think it's probably between one of the Metcalf brothers and Mason Curtis, and I think they probably will platoon at the position. Our friend John Diadamo over at the Voice of College Football coined the melding of Chip's power spread and Sherrone's run-heavy scheme as the spread and smash offense. Rate and give your thoughts. I think it's amazing, and I think it's perfect. Over on the Maze Madman show, I go back and forth with the guys where they often think Connor has disgraced the university, and I contend Connor was just an excuse for the NCAA to come after Michigan Harbaugh. Can you help my case? I mean, I don't see why people get so mad. The only reason they're mad at Connor is it's the same reason they were mad at Rich Rod with the stretch gate, right? It's like because it's got Michigan in the limelight with the. Again, how did anyone find out about this, right? How did you did he really truly break that bylaw? All that kind of stuff. I mean, I'd ask you just to reference old shows from 2023. Just because we're running out of time, and we've been actually out of time for a while here. All right, we've got 5 more. Let's rush through them here. No offense to y'all. Greg, hi, Isaiah. Why is Michigan waiting on the house settlement? There must be at least 1 or 2 elite recruits we can make a concrete offer to. Are there not? We risk losing out on those. I think that they aren't necessarily fully, but yeah, I think they are trying to figure out, like, how can we have our ducks in a row? And I think it's at their disadvantage, but I don't think ultimately they're going to be at one. Rain Man asks, why is Michigan blank expletive deleted at recruiting now, losing every battle and Sadler gone? Like, they've lost some battles, not many, right? Most of their big targets, not all, right? Jackson Cantwell's off the board. Sounds like Amari Latimer is going to be off the board. There's some of them that are off the board. They've got 7 commits right now. But it's one of those things where this is kind of what they are every single year. We did a whole show on it. Every year. They usually have about 7 or 8 commits right now, sometimes as high as 12. And people are complaining about recruiting. And then by the end of June or mid-July, everyone's like, man, what a class. This is great. The only difference was like the one with Jaden Davis, because everyone at this time was like, wow, look at this class. It's great. And then Michigan started losing guys rather than gaining more. Torkelson and Green, who's the fourth string quarterback. Probably Jaden Davis. They stole my sign. Have you talked to your loved ones? To all your loved ones? If you have enough food and water, bomb shelter. I'm hearing that the bomb could drop any day. From Michigan State and Ohio State fans, I'm really scared, bro. Listen, I'm just holding Zuri tight every night. Finishing us out, MC, Matt at MattCox26. Is Manuel Bagel going to get snaps this year? Or no, how he's progressing? It's going to be hard for him to get snaps just given the depth chart ahead of him. I mean, there's 6 guys in rotation, but he's gotten mentions by Lou Esposito as being a guy that's coming on. So it would not surprise me if he found his way on the field a little bit, but I think that's going to be more of a next year thing, waiting his turn. All right, that's going to do it for us. So thanks to all of our everydayers for tuning in. Thank you for making us your first listen. We will talk to you again on Friday. We're going to do the All-American transfer portal stuff that we teased early in the week. So look forward to that. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.